Hi, I'm Randy. The parable of the sower holds a very special place in my heart. The first time I heard it, I was in a church service with the girl I was dating at the time. I wasn't a Christian, I was there more for the girl than for the church service. My life at the time, it wasn't going as I had planned. My plans were to graduate college and get a high-paying job, eventually find a wife and have kids, live the good life. And so far, all that had happened was I had graduated college a couple of years before. I'd failed to find my high-paying job and was stuck in a low-paying one at McDonald's. I was becoming a bit discouraged and, quite frankly, a little bit depressed at the idea of flipping burgers for the rest of my life. There were a few people in my life at the time who were witnessing to me about a man named Jesus, but I just wasn't getting it. It didn't make sense until that day that I heard the parable of the sower. And then something clicked in my heart. And I realized that God was so much more than I was, and that compared to Him, I was simply dirt. As the truth of this began realizing in my brain, a truth dawned into my heart of who Jesus is. He is the Son of God. I remember leaving church that day and walking across the parking lot, and the prayer in my heart was, Lord, I want to be the good soil. And the direction of my life changed on that very time. And my perspective on what was important also changed. I went from the idea of the good life being earning and spending a lot of money to it being following Jesus and serving others for Him. I wanted to follow Jesus, and I wanted to follow Him with all of my heart. And the funny thing was, the next week I got a phone call for an interview with a small startup company that I barely even remember applying for. I was so excited. I called my Christian friends and asked if they would pray for me that God would bless me with this job, and they assured me that they would. But then they challenged me and they encouraged me to pray myself and ask God the Father for myself. It was the first time I'd ever done that, and it was exciting. 2 weeks later, I had the interview. And the amazing thing was, before I ever left the building, they had offered me the job. I was amazed, I was awestruck, and I was so happy. I went out to the car and I just cried. I couldn't believe that God had answered my prayer, and I could go to Him and trust Him, and He would provide for me and He would take care of me. And it meant so much to me. In that job, I think I've mentioned it in a couple of my messages, that it had a bunch of Christians, a real strong group of Christians. It was a perfect place for me to land as I started on this new path. It's been 39 years since I started on that path with Jesus. And every day I still have that prayer in my heart, Lord, I want to be the good soil. I want to continue seeking after Him and allowing Him to lead me. I want to be the good soil.